This story starts with introducing a girl named Benedetta, who is about to be taken to a convent by her parents. However, when they reach the border, they are stopped by some Pescia soldiers who ask for a bribe. One soldier takes Benedetta's mother's necklace as a condition to let them pass. But little Benedetta bravely asks the soldier to return her mother's necklace, threatening that Mother Mary will punish them. Hearing Benedetta's threat, the soldiers laughed mockingly. However, Benedetta then pointed at a bird and commanded it to teach the soldiers a lesson. Miraculously, the bird dropped its droppings right on the soldier's face, causing everyone to laugh heartily. The soldiers returned Benedetta's mother's necklace and allowed them to enter Pescia territory. When Benedetta's family arrived at the Pescia convent, they were greeted by a young nun named Christina. Benedetta was introduced to Felicita, the abbess, and Giuliano paid the registration fee. Giuliano shared that Benedetta had a special gift, being able to communicate with Mother Mary and see angels. Felicita seemed incredulous. 18 years later, Benedetta grew into a beautiful and intelligent young woman. One day, while playing the role of Mother Mary in a drama, Benedetta unintentionally got transported to another world and met Jesus. Later, a ragged girl named Bartolomea came to the convent seeking protection, as she was frequently abused by her father. Benedetta asked her father to pay Bartolomea's registration fee so she could be accepted into the convent. Benedetta treated Bartolomea kindly. However, Bartolomea misunderstood Benedetta's kindness and ended up kissing and touching her body. From that moment on, Benedetta experienced many strange occurrences. That day, Benedetta found herself in a trance. She witnessed her body being coiled by several snakes aiming to kill her. However, shortly after, Jesus came to her rescue, slaying all the snakes. Not only that, Jesus also kissed Benedetta on the lips and comforted her, saying that everything would be fine as long as Benedetta stayed with him. The next day, an incident occurred where Bartolomea accidentally bumped into Sister Christina, causing all the silk threads Christina was carrying to fall into a pot of hot water. A clash ensued between Christina and Bartolomea. Feeling that Bartolomea had been careless, Benedetta ordered her to take responsibility for her mistake. Benedetta instructed Bartolomea to retrieve all the silk threads using her own hands. However, due to the pot of hot water, Bartolomea's hands suffered serious burns. As a result of this event, Benedetta faced punishment from the abbess for allegedly attempting to harm Bartolomea. A few days later, Benedetta suddenly screamed and thrashed in her bed. Seeing this, the abbess decided to restrain Benedetta on the bed. Shortly after, a doctor arrived and examined Benedetta, who turned out not to have any serious condition. The doctor then administered a sedative as a precaution. On the other hand, Bartolomea took advantage of Benedetta's vulnerable state. Despite Benedetta previously injuring her hand, Bartolomea couldn't hide her feelings as she had fallen in love with Benedetta. Bartolomea even asked the abbess for permission to care for Benedetta. Since then, their relationship grew closer. One time, Benedetta experienced another strange occurrence where her hands and feet were bleeding. The nuns believed that what Benedetta went through was stigmata or a miracle from God. Pastor Alfonso came to examine Benedetta's condition, and believed that she indeed had stigmata. However, Felicita still had doubts. She argued that stigmata should occur while someone is praying and leave wounds on the hands, feet and forehead, whereas Benedetta experienced it while sleeping and only on her hands and feet without any wounds on her forehead. A debate ensued between Felicita and Pastor Alfonso, each adamant in their stance. During that time, Benedetta suddenly fell in her room and claimed to be the wife of Jesus who would save people from a deadly plague. Observing the wound on Benedetta's forehead, Pastor Alfonso became more convinced that Benedetta's stigmata was indeed real. The news of Benedetta's stigmata quickly spread throughout the town of Pescia, leading many to believe that Benedetta was a saint. They flocked to bring flowers and pray for Benedetta. On the other hand, Felicita and Christina remained doubtful and planned to conduct an investigation to verify the truth. Pastor Alfonso, convinced that Benedetta was a saint, decided to appoint her as the head of the Pescia Abbey, replacing Felicita. Despite Christina's objections, Pastor Alfonso persisted, citing that Benedetta was God's chosen one through the miracles she experienced. Eventually, Felicita had to hand over her large cross necklace to Benedetta. Benedetta then moved into Felicita's chamber. However, Felicita intentionally made a hole in the room to monitor Benedetta's activities. Benedetta appointed Bartolomea as her assistant and allowed her to stay in the room. Bartolomea took advantage of this opportunity to engage in an intimate relationship with Benedetta. Unbeknownst to them, Felicita discovered their activities. One night, Benedetta and Bartolomea were startled to see a red light outside their room. This made Pastor Alfonso and Felicita certain that something bad was about to happen. Meanwhile, Christina, who was in a state of depression, intended to jump from the monastery roof. After Benedetta was appointed as the head of the abbey, Christina felt unable to convince people that all of Benedetta's miracles were lies. Distraught, Christina ultimately decided to leap from the monastery roof. Devastated by Christina's death, Felicita blamed Benedetta for all the tragedies. Subsequently, Felicita secretly went to Rome to report all of Benedetta's misconduct to the chief judge, including the accusation of a lesbian relationship with one of the sisters in the abbey. However, the chief judge couldn't immediately trust Felicita's statements and requested evidence that could incriminate Benedetta. Meanwhile, outside the abbey, Pastor Alfonso gathered people to conduct a ceremony of supplication to God, beseeching for Pescia to be spared from the deadly epidemic caused by the meteor. Benedetta confidently assured everyone that Jesus would protect Pescia from any impending harm. A few days later, the chief judge decided to visit the Pescia Abbey to verify Felicita's accusations. However, his arrival was initially denied by the gatekeeper out of fear that he might bring the epidemic into the abbey. Fortunately, Pastor Alfonso recognized the chief judge and allowed him entry. After gathering sufficient evidence from Felicita, the chief judge resolved to pass judgment on Benedetta for the charges of deviation and blasphemy. Benedetta faced the threat of capital punishment, being burned alive in the midst of the city. Benedetta denied the accusations and implored the chief judge to believe in her stigmata that could protect Pescia from the epidemic. However, the chief judge remained incredulous and dismissed it as mere nonsense. Subsequently, Felicita disclosed her testimony of witnessing Benedetta and Bartolomea engaging in sexual deviance using the statue of the Virgin Mary. Upon hearing this revelation, the chief judge sentenced Benedetta to death. Bartolomea was interrogated by the chief judge, and after being tortured, she eventually confessed to their actions and provided the statue of the Virgin Mary as evidence. Consequently, Benedetta could no longer evade responsibility, and had to accept her punishment. On the day of the execution, Benedetta was taken in a wooden cart towards the execution site in the center of Pescia. However, her numerous supporters, unwilling to witness the perceived holy figure being executed in such a manner, caused a commotion. Chaos ensued as Benedetta's followers attacked the chief judge's forces and succeeded in killing the chief judge. Amidst the tumult, Bartolomea swiftly freed Benedetta and escorted her away. Meanwhile, feeling her efforts had been in vain, Felicita decided to immolate herself. After that incident, Benedetta survived and was set to return to the abbey to resume leadership. However, before departing, Bartolomea revealed something that led Benedetta to confess that the stigmata she had claimed all along were false. Upon this revelation, Bartolomea let Benedetta go. And the movie ends.